Good morning, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. We are thankful yet again to be here. Another Sabbath. We're going to tip this forward just a little bit. I'm ready for a close up. Hey, everybody. So we are good. We are thankful to be here yet again. Hashem has blessed us through another week. He is so good to us always and forever. So we're going to go ahead and start this morning. If you would, let us all stand and turn to Proverbs 26. Proverbs 26 and verse 12. Have you seen a man wise in his own eyes? There is more expectancy for a fool than for him. The lazy one says, there is a lion in the way. A fierce lion is in the streets. A door turns on its hinges, so does the lazy one turn on his bed. So let's lift up our eyes. Hashem, thank you for this day that you have given us. Thank you for your love, your mercy, your tenderness, all your attributes. You are so good to us. There is none besides you. No one is like you. No one is your equal. May we just testify of your goodness always and just direct people to who you are, that you are the Elohim of Israel, the creator of the Shemayim and the Aretz. We do pray over this message, Hashem, that you would bless it, that you would strengthen us in your word, the understanding of correction in our lives and discipline, that we would be able to mold our lives after your Torah, and that people would be able to testify and see that you do work in us. We don't want any other gods before you, any other mighty ones. We want to keep your Torah and hold fast and swear by your name. I pray that you would speak for us at this time, that we'd have a clear mind to teach your word in truth, that it would be clear enough for us to understand and to apply in our lives. May we just grow closer to you and have that desire to walk in your Torah. You are Elohim, we are your people. Baruch Hashem, hallelujah, amen. So, Proverbs chapter 26 and verse 12. Have you seen a man wise in his own eyes? There is more expectancy for a fool than for him. So the difference between the man who is wise in his own eyes and the fool is the fool doesn't know any better. Okay? The fool acts and he is foolish. He goes on his way. He is simple and he is punished because of the lack of understanding. We all should have a drive, number one, for wisdom. Okay? For knowledge in our lives. We understand that knowledge is just the understanding itself, but wisdom is to apply. That's skill. So, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. You can be a smart fool because you don't apply what you know. So, wisdom. Now, verse 12, have you seen a man wise in his own eyes? We've been talking about that for a while now. There are two ways that we see, with the physical eye and also with the mind. With the mind, it is called insight. Okay? So, what this man who is foolish, there is no expectancy, no confident expectancy for him, because he believes that his perception is true. He cannot challenge him. You cannot debate with him because he is not wrong. There's a sense of being prideful there. So, have you seen a man wise in his own eyes? That is, he considers everything that he sees, the mind that he has is correct. There is more hope for a fool than for him, because you can correct a fool, you can lead a fool, but a man who thinks that he knows everything, he is hard to discipline. He is hard to teach. A lazy one, the lazy one says there is a lion in the way. So lazy is atzal, it is sluggish, lazy, sluggard, indolent. I looked up the definition for indolent. It is wanting to avoid activity. Wanting to avoid activity, exertion, that is to exert yourself, to exert your energy, that is lazy. So when I think about sluggard, what do I think about? Slug. Sluggish. You don't want to move. You don't want to exert your energy. You don't want any type of activity. So, the lazy one says there is a lion in the way, a fierce lion in the streets. We have talked about this part in Proverbs chapter 26 before. We can convince ourselves not to go. We can convince ourselves not to go. If you really want to do something, you will find a way. If you don't, you will find an excuse. That is Jim Rohn. We sabotage ourselves because we don't believe it can happen. And we convince ourselves not to go. I don't know if I was going to mention this in this message, but I'll mention it now while we're inspired to say it. Someone asked me, they said, do you ever feel like you lack motivation? Like you're not motivated to do something? And I said no. And the reason I said no is because I remember who I used to be. I remember the person that I was. I remember the person that was a people pleaser, eating unhealthy, not active, didn't want to do anything. I remember that person, the person that let everybody walk all over me. I didn't stand for anything. I let you do whatever you wanted to do, and I did not appreciate myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't respect myself. I remember that person, and I'm not going back. So, when I don't feel motivated, I do it anyway, because I don't want to be the person that I was. That's my motivation. And now, as we were studying in this, it talked about, as we were looking up different topics or thinking about the sluggard lacks self-motivation. They can't motivate themselves to get up and go and do. Okay? They always need someone to motivate them. So, self-motivation is a great tool to use in your life. It's when you don't want to do it, you do it anyway, because it needs to be done. Okay, sometimes at the end of the day, I'm wore out, and you just don't want to do anything. But things need to be done. Things need to be done. So what do? You do them. You get them done. So that is discipline. This person who is lazy, a sluggard, lacks self-motivation. So I don't want to be the person that I was. So what continues to drive me is I don't want to be there anymore. I want to be a new person. I want to be a better person. So I'm going to push. I'm going to push myself. I'm going to get myself in the right direction in order to become the person that I want to be. And we'll talk about that too. So if you really want to do something, you will find a way. If you don't, you will find an excuse. The thing about self-awareness is understanding when you are making up an excuse. When you are coming up with a reason not to do something. So that's self-awareness. And then you look at the sluggard here. He is just coming up with an excuse not to go in the street. He is coming up with an excuse not to go. Is there really a lion in the streets? No. No. He is just coming up with an excuse not to move. So we convince ourselves not to go. We have many reasons why. I really like the concept. We all ask, and we've said this before, why? Why do you do that? People ask you, why do you keep the Sabbath? Why do you eat clean? My answer is, why not? You say why, I say why not? It's all about how you perceive it. It's all about the story that you tell yourself. The definitions that you give your life. You can change your perspective on anything at any given moment based on the story you tell yourself. And we talked about the person that was angry about getting cut off on the highway. And what they do, they told themselves a different story about that person. Instead of being angry and cussing and whatever, you come up with a different story. That person is having a baby and they're trying to get to the hospital. Whatever it is. And that eases your anger. You can change your perspective at any given moment, at any given situation. You wake up late for work. Everybody's done it, right? Well, except maybe my dad. But you wake up. You wake up late for work. What happens? You start beating yourself up. Why did I do that? Oh my goodness, it's going to ruin the rest of my day. You know what? We're human. We're human. Cut yourself a break. Have you ever woke up and then turned your alarm off and then you missed going into work? Guilty. I've done it. But you know what? You're human. You know what's the best thing about that? Is that you even feel conviction. Because some people don't care at all. Okay, so the fact that you even feel bad because you woke up late says something about your character. So hold on to that. So, the lazy one says there is a lion in the way, a fierce lion in the streets. So we can convince ourselves not to go. We have so many reasons why. I say, why not? I really like this. It's actually a Wayne Gretzky quote, and it is, "You miss 100% of the shots you do not take." You miss 100% of the shots that you do not take. If we had a title for this message, it would be "The Fear of Failing." What is preventing you from getting to the next stage of your life? You know, your success is on the other side of conquering your fear. The life that you want is on the other side of taking that risk. But we don't take the risk because we're afraid of failing. But I tell you that failure is a part of growth. When you fail and you've tried something that you had never expected that you would ever try, and you fail, now you know. It's just like a health journey. It's just like you trying to take care of yourself. It is a continual growth. It is adaptation and variation. I don't like this, I do like this. This works for me, this doesn't work for me. It is a continual adaptation. Okay? There was a time when I would go in the afternoon to the gym. But I got to think about my son. So what now? I got to go at 4 o'clock in the morning. If you want to take care of yourself, you're going to have to adapt and you're going to have to vary. There's some substitutions when it comes down to things that you like. Instead of having cake, have an apple. Have a banana. Whatever it is, that's substitution. So, if you want to, you can and you will. But if you don't, you will find every excuse not to. You know why? Because we set ourselves up. You miss 100% of the shots that you do not take. Why? Because of fear of failing. Because of the fear of failing. A door turns on its hinges, so does a lazy one turn on his bed. So the sluggard is one who is habitually lazy. Am I saying you can never take a break? No, I'm not saying that. Somebody was talking about this week on Facebook how we are living in a generation where you are frowned upon for taking a day off, for even relaxing. You're frowned upon for doing that because we live in a generation of go, 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 go. And I tell you today, if you do not take a break, Shabbat Shalom, if you do not take a break, your body will shut down on you. Your body will stop. Your body will quit if you don't take a break because it needs that rest. So, did God know what he was doing? Hashem know what he was doing when he said, take this day off? Absolutely. Absolutely he did. Because if you don't, your body will shut down on you. It will take a break for you. And you might not ever come back from it. So, Shabbat Shalom. Take the day off. Rest. Rest from everything. You know what I really enjoy doing? And I don't do it often enough. Shutting everything off. You and your thoughts. It takes a person who has their thoughts in order to sit in silence. Not many people can do that. You think about how many people go to sleep with the TV on. Or a fan. I go to sleep with a fan. But can you sit in silence? Can you sit with your thoughts? It takes a person who has their thoughts in order to sit in silence. Because, you know what we do? We set ourselves up. We discourage ourselves. We are our own worst enemy because we're stuck in this mind. If you are not preparing your mind, if you are not preparing your heart, and we're doing that through studying, okay? Like I said before, I study psychology. And there are all types of exercises. There are all types of quotes. There are all types of things out there that you can put in your heart and in your mind that will help you get through the struggle. But if you are not equipping yourself correctly with the right tools, you're not going to be successful. You're going to continue to be stuck and not move forward because you're not prepared. Preparing is another way that people, lack of preparation is another attribute of the sluggard. They don't prepare. Oh, ye sluggard, look at the ant. Okay, Proverbs. So, don't set yourself up. Do not set yourself up. Prepare yourself. Protect your mind. What did it say? Guard your heart. Why? Why? Because it can mess you up. If you don't know how to discipline yourself and you aren't preparing yourself with the correct tools. And even stuff right here, like I'm saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Those tools that you use to take that risk. That might change your life forever. But you're going to continue to be stuck if you're afraid of failure. Of failure. Now, if you notice, when we sing that song, sometimes my voice cracks. Sometimes I try to hit those notes and I'm like, but do I stop singing? No. Some people, that could ruin them. Because their voice cracks, they don't hit the note. You don't stop singing though. That's a tool you can use. So, he turns side to side. It's the hinges of the bed. One side to the other. One side to the other. That's the sluggard. Ecclesiastes 11. One of my favorite parts of Ecclesiastes now, and whenever he gave it to us, it is just a beautiful thing in Ecclesiastes 11. Ecclesiastes 11 and verse 4, he who watches the wind does not sow, and he who looks at the clouds does not reap. One who waits for ideal conditions will never get his work done. Waiting for the wind to stop, or waiting because they're worried about the clouds, or they're worried about the rain. One who dreads that rain will fall. So the first one was Ibn Latif. This one is Rashi. One who dreads that rain will fall and therefore doesn't harvest will never be able to harvest because of his constant fear. The potential of what could happen. There's so many potentials out there of what could happen. Okay? But what do? As we just said, we set ourselves up because we already think that we failed. So what do? We never try. You never try anything new. You never take the risk because you've already set yourself up for failure. But what does he say right after that? You do not know what is the way of the wind, or how do the bones grow in the womb of her who is with child. So you do not know the works of Elohim who makes all. Can you understand what Hashem is going to do with what you do? Okay? How he is going to bless the works of your hands. You don't know what he's got planned. Don't let the fear of failing stop you from moving forward. Because you're going to continue to be stuck if you continue to think about all the bad things that could happen. He's so good. So, can you think something... that is all messed up. Okay, we'll get back to that. I'm at the wrong part, actually. Waiting for the ideal conditions. So I asked myself this week, and he talks about in verse 6, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? What is scaring you? Fear is holding you back and limiting your life. This person was afraid to sow. Why? Because he was, or afraid to harvest because it's going to rain, or the wind's going to push it away, or the birds are going to eat it up, or whatever it is. So instead of sowing, because he doesn't know what God is going to allow to prosper, he doesn't sow at all. He doesn't sow at all. And if you don't sow, what don't you do? You don't reap. Don't be afraid. Fear and being afraid is preventing you from being fruitful. It is preventing you from bearing fruit. It is preventing you from being successful because you are so afraid of failing. We cannot stay static in a dynamic world. What does that mean? We have to move in a world that is continually changing. You can't stay here. You have to change. Now, am I not saying that, or am I saying that Hashem is not a solid rock? No, I'm not saying that at all. Am I saying that we back up on doctrine? No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is you have a solid foundation, but you have to know how to adapt in your life because certain circumstances come in your life that you have no control over. What are you going to do then? Life is continually changing around you. How do you adapt and how do you vary? And I tell you, every single one of you in this building, everyone who will ever listen to this message, has within them a spark to survive. Every one of us. And you'll do whatever that is within you to make sure that you're successful at it. There's a spark in you that wants to live. So, we cannot stay static in a dynamic world. We have to move in a world that is continually changing. Change is inevitable. You have no control over your circumstances, and you have no control over what? The people in your life. No control. You have no control over it, but you have control in it. How you define it. And I tell you this morning, do not let your past define your present. You can be a whole new person every single day. That's why I love the Psalms. His mercies are new every morning. Every morning. Like we talked about last week. I sent them early, and you did not listen. I sent them early, before the day was on, before the afternoon, before the evening. I sent them early so you could change now. And if you change now, you can affect the rest of your day. Don't let one bad thing in your morning affect the rest of your day. It is one event that happened. You know what I really love? No, I really love. I really love it. Ooh, I love it. Is that experience. Okay? So, experience. Go for the experience. You, in this life, and I love it, are the experiment. You are the experiment in this life. You don't know everything. And every event in your life and situation is the experience. I like the thought of that. You're gaining experience, and you are the experiment. So, we must be able to adapt and vary. Go for the experience. You in this life are the experiment. Take the children of Israel in the wilderness. All the events that happened to them. And what happened? What happened? There was no control that Moses had over that. He had no control over what the people were going to do. He had no control over how they were going to react to the situations. He only had control over how he was going to handle it. And that's all you have control over. How you handle the situations in your life. That is dealing with people, and that is dealing with your circumstances. That is your secondary world. This is your primary world. That's everything that goes on in your body. And your secondary world is everything in the world and how you react to it. There are things that happen in your life that you have no control over. My favorite quote, we mentioned it a few weeks ago. I asked for patience, and God gave me circumstances in which I had to wait. I had to wait. And I gained patience. The things that are worth having in life, you have to work for them. They don't come easy. They don't. But they're worth having. Patience is worth having. You want some patience? Have children. Little humans that you have no control over. Because they're all individuals. You'll gain some patience. So, we must be able to adapt and vary. Try different variations. This isn't working for me. What am I going to do? I'm going to adapt. I'm going to try something new. Adapt and vary. That's adaptation and variation. Do I believe in evolution? No, I do not believe in evolution. And I actually got that from Dr. Dino. I can't remember what his real name is. It's not Kent. It's not Kent. It might be Kent. Kent Hobond is what his name is. He's got some really good stuff out there. If you ever get an opportunity to watch it. But he said, I don't believe in evolution. I believe in adaptation and variation. So the animals adapted and varied based on where they moved. So, what are you afraid of? Sow your seed. Verse 6. Sow your seed in the morning, and until evening do not let your hand rest, since you do not know which prospers, this or that, or whether both alike are good. You have already set yourself up for failure. Therefore, you will not harvest and you will not sow. And if you do not do that, you will not be successful. The fear of failure is preventing you from working. It's preventing you from moving forward because you don't know what's up. You don't know what's next. God does. And that's why he said, put your hand to it and watch what I can do. It's so awesome. We have a fear of failing and nothing's going to work out. But Hashem says, you don't know which one will prosper. This one, that one, or both of them. The abundance of the blessing. The double portion. And you'll never know if you never try. You miss 100% of the attempts that you never try. The shots that you never try. Adapt and vary. Adaptation and variation. He said so. Do the work and watch him work. Remember, we work with him. He works with us. He says, keep my Torah. This is a covenant. Hold to me. Cling to my name. Swear by it. Exodus 4. Jim Rohn also talks about your philosophy. What is your philosophy of life? That is going to guide you in your life. Whatever your teaching is, whatever your doctrine is, whatever you hold on to, the philosophy of life, that is going to govern a big part of your life. So, choose your philosophy wisely. Wisely. I am definitely a person who is an advocate for therapy. Therapy. We have been given the wrong tools in our lives, and no wonder we're scatterbrained. No wonder we're all over the place. I am definitely a person who believes that everybody at some point in time should go to therapy in their life. So you can just see. You can get some tools. Read books on therapy. Read books on psychology. Because otherwise, you are alone in the wilderness. And you have no tools. No skill. So, Exodus 4 and verse 10. And Moshe said to Hashem, O Hashem, I am not a man of words, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. And Hashem said to him, Who has made man's mouth? Or who makes dumb or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, Hashem? And now go, and I shall be with your mouth and teach you what to say. You know what's crazy about us as humans? Okay, we are the people that notice our frailties. We know our limitations and we know our insecurities. Correct? Yes. People are not worried about you. They're not focused on your insecurities. They're not focused on your frailties. Why? Because they've got their own. They're focused on their own. So don't worry about what people think about you. They don't even notice. They've got their own. Let me give you an example. You have no idea what time I spend on this beard to take care of it. I was talking to somebody and they said, are you okay? Or something like that. And they were looking at me and I said, I thought you were looking at my cheeks. And they said, I wasn't. I don't care about your cheeks. You know why? Well, I got to trim my cheeks up because hair grows up here. In order to keep it lined up, you got to trim up your cheeks. But anyway, they were not worried about that. People don't notice your insecurities. People don't notice your frailties. People don't know anything about your flaws. Only you are aware of that. Look at Moshe. I am a man slow of speech. I want to tell you, through the walk that God had given to Moshe, he figured out he was a leader. We too often focus on our shortcomings. I'm not good at this, and I'm not good at that, and I don't have this. What about your strengths? What about your strengths? We think about where we lack. Focus on your strengths. Can you, that's what I was looking for, can you this morning think of something that you're good at? We talked about that last week. When you're in a relationship with someone, it is so easy to find fault with people. But don't forget why you got in that relationship in the first place. I liked this person because of this. I like this person because of that. Otherwise, you'll forget why you even got one. So, look at Moses. I'm a man slow of speech. I cannot speak ever since I was born. Who are you to say that? I am God who makes the mouth. I will be with you. And by the end of it, he was a leader. What were the strengths of Moses? Persistence. Persistence. He continued to show up for the children of Israel. Even though they continued to give him a hard time, he was continually there, and that was his strength. He was a true leader, and that's why you have so many people now, when it comes to Israel and it comes to the Jews, they love Moses. They honor Moses for who he was. But Moses was just looking at his insecurities and his frailties and his shortcomings. Who are you? We are a people who notice our own frailties, limitations, and insecurities. People are not worried about you. They focus on their own weaknesses. You wouldn't notice about this beard, but I do. And now you might. Which I mentioned something. But y'all don't care about that. It's not anything that bothers you. Okay? So we think and worry ourselves to death on what we lack. And we do not focus on our strengths. Fear, you look at Moshe here, fear is limiting your life. Moses did not want to move forward, and he came up with every excuse not to. You got the wrong guy. Fear is limiting your life. I love this quote, and I don't know who said it, but it's so beautiful. Let go of the life you want in order to gain the life that is waiting for you. Let go of the life you want in order to gain the life that is waiting for you. This is a quote about anticipation. The fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. Paulo Salino. We throw ourselves off. We think that what is coming up is worse than what actually is going to happen. That's anticipation for you. You don't know. You don't know. You think of all the worst case scenarios, and you've already set yourself up for failure. Psalms 118. Psalms 118 verse 1. Oh, give thanks to Hashem, for he is good, because his kindness is everlasting. Let Yisrael now say his kindness is everlasting. Let the house of Aharon now say his kindness is everlasting. Let those who revere Hashem now say his kindness is everlasting. I called on Yah in distress. Yah answered me in a broad place. Hashem is on my side. I do not fear what man does to me. Hashem is for me among those helping me. So, we have to face our fears if we truly want to live. If you truly want to live, you're going to have to conquer what you're afraid of. You're going to have to face it. Let me give you an example. Last Tuesday, we were doing sparring in MMA. Last Tuesday, I was afraid to step in to take a hit. I was afraid to get in close to somebody. But I realized that in order to take a hit, you've got to, or in order to give a hit, you've got to take a hit. You've got to get in close to be successful. You have got to conquer your fear in order to be the attacker, in order to get a hit in. So you have to be able to take a hit in order to give a hit. You know what the best punch is? A counter. What does that mean? When somebody throws a punch, you dip and you attack. So you have to be able to slip, you have to be able to shift in order to attack. But if you don't get in because you're afraid of being hit, you're not going to win. You have to take the hit. You have to know how to take a hit in order to be successful and in order to win the fight. Tuesday, I was afraid to step in and take a hit. You have to be able to take a hit in order to give a hit. The best punch is a counter, to move and then strike. Slip, shift, attack. You have to get in close in order to make contact, especially when you have a short arm length, like I do. My arms are short. But you've got to get in order to attack. You cannot be afraid of taking a hit. I shall not fear what man can do to me. I was afraid to take a punch. Fear is what's making you afraid. Fear is preventing you from being successful because you're not moving in. Failure is the backboard for success. You learn what not to do and you adapt. But the more that you show up, the more experience you gain. Remember, in this life, you are the experiment. Continuing on. Verse 6. Hashem is on my side. I do not fear what man does to me. Hashem is for me among those helping me. Therefore, I took on those hating me. It is better to take refuge in Hashem than to trust in man. It is better to take refuge in Hashem than to trust in princes. All the Gentiles surrounded me. In the name of Hashem, I shall cut them off. I'm ready to move in. I'm ready for the attack. They surrounded me, even they surrounded me. In the name of Hashem shall I cut them off. They surrounded me like bees. They were extinguished like burning thorns. In the name of Hashem, I shall cut them off. Pushing me to fall, but Hashem helped me. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. The voice of rejoicing and deliverance is in the tents of the righteous. The right hand of Hashem is doing mightily. The right hand of Hashem is exalted. The right hand of Hashem acts mightily. Let me not die, but live and declare the works of Yah. Yah has punished me severely, but did not give me over to death. Open to me the gates of righteousness. I enter through them. I thank Yah. The gate of Hashem, the righteous enter through it. I thank you, for you have answered me and become my deliverance. The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. What do I think that is? Just meditating on that, I think it was David. And the reason that I say that is because what was happening whenever Shemuel came to select the next king, it was all his brothers, but not him. So the stone that the builders rejected, why would you choose this ruddy one? Do you have any other children? I'll have one more. He's with the sheep. They rejected him, but he has become the head of the corner. Okay? He has become the chief cornerstone. This was from Hashem. It is marvelous in our eyes. I think that would be awesome too if I was chosen to be king. So, this is the day. It was verse 23. This was from Hashem. It is marvelous in our eyes. This is the day Hashem has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. You can choose how you feel. You can choose how you're going to perceive this day. You can either let the past govern your future and affect you presently, or you can choose to tell yourself a different story based on better definitions. Something that can serve you better in your life. So, this is the day that Hashem has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I pray, oh Hashem, please save. I pray, Hashem, please send prosperity. Baruch is he who is coming in the name of Hashem. We shall Baruch you from the house of Hashem. Hashem is El. He gave us light. Bind the festal offering with cords to the horns of the altar. You are my El. I praise you. You are my Elohim. I exalt you. Give thanks to Hashem, for he is good, for his kindness is everlasting. We have to face our fears. Fear is limiting you in your life. And I do like the quote, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And when we continue to go through this, we'll talk about fear that we cause to come upon ourselves. So, in order to give a punch, you must take a punch. And the best punch, in my opinion, is a counter. That is you being able to slip and dip and get in. You have to be able to move in order to go. So, that is what a counter is. Joshua 1. We often talk about Joshua going into the land, and we've even talked about Joshua 1, where we think that he was having a little bit of trouble. He was probably fairly anxious. If you look at Joshua and you look at Moses, who was before him, maybe he thought that he had some big boots that he needed to fill. Because you have Moses and then you have Joshua. That might cause any of us to get anxious. And then Hashem comes and comforts him. Joshua chapter 1 and verse 3. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads, I have given you as I spoke to Moshe. From the wilderness and this Lebanon, even as far as the great river, the river Perath, all the land of the Hittites and the great sea toward the going down of the sun is your border. No man is going to stand before you all the days of your life. As I was with Moshe, so I am with you. I do not fail you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, for you are to let this people inherit the land which I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be strong and very courageous. Conquer fear with faith. Okay? The only thing that is going to conquer your fear, the two weapons that we have, is faith and trust. If you lack faith or hope, if you lack trust, no wonder you're afraid. No wonder you're scared. So the only thing that's going to conquer your fear is faith and trust. And who do you have faith and trust in? So be strong and be very courageous to guard, to do according to all the Torah which Moshe my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it right or left, so that you act wisely wherever you go. Do not let this book of the Torah, my instruction, depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you guard to do according to all that is written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous and act wisely. Have I not commanded you the third time? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, nor be discouraged, for Hashem your Elohim is with you wherever you go. Everywhere you go, he is there. So therefore be strong and courageous. Do you think that he sees? Do you think that he knows? Absolutely. Absolutely. So conquer your fear with faith. Imagine if Joshua didn't go into the land because he was so anxious. Hashem came to him and said, be strong and courageous. It's time to move forward. That land is yours. He has already promised it. Promised it to him. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting in spite of fear. Carly Furiona. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing it anyway. Courage is acting in spite of fear. Do it afraid. Do it afraid. Public speaking. How do you get better at public speaking? Speak publicly. Publicly. That's how you get better. So, do not be afraid. Do it afraid. Trust and faith are your weapons to conquer your fears. Fear comes from the lack of trust. Fear comes from the lack of faith. And like we said earlier, we sabotage ourselves because we think it might be going too good to be true. Or this would never happen to me. So, focus on the solution and less on the problem. We've all got problems. Every single one of us. Well, what can you do about it? There are two things in life. There are things that you have control over and that you can do something about. And there are things that you have no control over. You can't do anything about. Let it go. Let it go. Stop trying to control it. Because it's not yours to control. It's going to give you anxiety. It's going to make you depressed. Because you're trying to do something about it. And that's the type of people that we are. We want to fix it. We want to fix it. We want it fixed right now. But we can't. Work and focus on the solution of the things that you do have control over. Focus on the solution, less on the problem. Our options are limited based on our perspective. So if you have a problem and you're only seeing it from one side and you're not trying to view it from different points, it's going to limit the amount of solutions that you have. Our options are limited based on our perspective. Look at the problem in a different light. View it from a different perspective. Check it out from over here. Check it out from over there. If this happened, what would that happen? Or if this happened, what would I do in that situation? Ask for advice if you don't know. Someone that you trust. That'll give you a different perspective of it. We've talked about that too often, the difference between subjectivity and objectivity. We feel certain ways about situations that we're in because our emotions are mixed in with it. Because we feel this way about it. But people who are on the outside will look at it objectively. And what does that mean? With truth and with fact. They'll look at it from the outside in, and maybe they can give you a different perspective of it and help you to get through it. Okay? Our emotions are tied up in the situation that we're in. If you can even step out of your situation and think about it objectively with truth and fact, that'll help you too. So, also, in order to move forward, and we talk about this often, in order to move forward, you have to accept your reality now. This is my reality. This is where I am. And then you can move forward. You can assess the situation. So ask for advice. Seek Hashem's counsel. What did he say? Meditate on my Torah day and night. Psalms 95, and we'll close out. No, I got that other thing that's on the next page. I got one more thing on the next page. Psalms 95. We'll read through all of Psalms 95. Come, let us sing to Hashem. Let us raise a shout to the rock of our deliverance. Let us come before his face with thanksgiving. Let us raise a shout to him in song, for Hashem is a great El, and a great sovereign above all mighty ones, in whose hand are the depths of the earth. The mountain peaks are his also. His is the sea, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. Come, let us bow down and bend low. Let us kneel before Hashem our Maker, for he is our Elohim. And we are the people of his pasture, and the sheep of his hand. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts, as in Meribah, and as in the day of Massah, in the wilderness. Forever in the present. I love that quote. It is a quote from Joe Caruso. Forever in the present. You are not in the future. You are not the person of your past. You have completely changed. You have adapted. You have varied. That is not who you are. Okay? So you are forever now. You are forever now. You build your future by starting today. Today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your heart. You start your future today. Change one decision. Change one behavior. And it will change your future. Do you want to change? Do you want to see a different future? Stop looking for it. Do it today. Do it now. So, change one decision, change one behavior, and it'll change your life. Face your fear. What are you afraid of? There is nothing to fear but fear itself. How do you conquer fear? With faith. With trust. Show up. Do it anyway. There are some times that I don't want to show up to class. There are some times that I don't want to fight. I don't want to. But you know what? I go anyway. And by the end of it, I'm glad I did. I'm so thankful. Show up anyway. Do it afraid. So, continuing on through Psalms 95, today, forever in the present. Today, if you would hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in Meribah and as in the day of Massah in the wilderness. Is Hashem even among us? They pronged him. They tested him. When your fathers tried me, he proved me, though they saw my work. For 40 years I was loathed, that is intense dislike and disgust, with the generation, and said, they are a people who go astray in their hearts. And they do not know my ways, as I swore in my wrath, if they enter into my rest. Face your fears. What are you afraid of? You know what the first thing, 5 steps in wisdom, I don't know if I've mentioned that before. First one is awareness. Being aware of it. Okay? Aware of what needs to change. Aware, the second one is consideration. What does that mean to you? Okay? So, like we talked about before, French. You might not need to know French, but everybody knows that French is a language. Okay? Then you consider, what does French mean to you? Probably not much, because you might not ever need it. But Hebrew. Hebrew might mean something to you. Okay? So, Hebrew is a language. Everybody's aware of that. You consider, what does that mean to you? Okay? Next, you have experiment. Experiment with it. You're not going to get it all. And we can talk about health. Okay? Everybody's aware that you need to eat right and exercise. You need to move, right? Everybody understands that. You're all aware, but what does that mean to you? What does that benefit your life? That's your consideration. And then what do? Experiment. You start going to the gym. You go on a walk. Substitution, we've talked about that before. You substitute the apple for the candy bar. You put this away and you take this up. That's substitution. You are experimenting. Remember, in this life, you are the experiment. You are the only one who has control over you. And you are the only one who has the way to make decisions in your life, for your life, to make it better. Nobody, except when you were young, and you think about Eastern Kentucky, putting Mountain Dew in babies' bottles. But anyway, but when it comes to you making your own decisions, it affects you and your life. So, awareness, consideration, what does that mean to you? Experimentation. Experimentation leads into experience. You have the experience now. What does that mean? I need this, I don't need that. This worked for me, this didn't. But the thing is, you don't stop singing. I like that. You mess up, but you don't stop singing. And the last one is commitment. These are the 5 steps to wisdom. Are you committed to it? How's it going to benefit your life? Face your fear. What are you afraid of? Awareness is number 1. Figure out what you're afraid of. Some people are afraid of change. You want to keep things the way that they are. Some people are afraid of losing control. We've said that before. Try to find the root of what you are afraid of. And then you can assess the situation. You can move on in your life. And you can face your fears. Nothing to fear but fear itself. Now, I do want to talk about this real quick. There is a psychological thought out there called mass psychogenic illness. Okay? Mass psychogenic illness. And it is when a people in a group start feeling sick at the same time, even though there is no physical or environmental reason for them to be sick. They think they have been exposed to something dangerous like a germ or a toxin. It's called mass psychogenic illness. You know what that makes me think of? You already know. You already know. It was introduced, and then everybody thought they were sick with the symptoms, even though there was no environmental reason or physical reason. It's a thought. Now, it also happened, the example that I read whenever I was first getting into it, it happened at a school where it was on the news where people thought that they were getting sick, and then everybody in the school got sick with those symptoms, even though there was no environmental or physical thing introduced. You know why? Because of this brain. You know why? There might not be any doom. Like the sluggard says, he thought there was a lion, but there was no lion in the street. So what did he do? From fear of going out, he made up an excuse. It's all in your head. You make up your fears. You know what you're afraid of. Move forward. Face your fears. Conquer them. Fear is limiting your life. What are you afraid of? Figure it out. Like I said, I was afraid of losing control. So what did I do? I started studying books about losing control. I wanted to get better. I wanted to conquer my fear. So I had to study about it. And it's helped me greatly. I finally got through the book. So the book is done. But it's a good book to reference. So I bought a copy of it. But if you don't know, if you can never identify it, that's why I said it's good for everybody to go to therapy. I believe that. If you are not taking care of your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your emotional health, who's going to? Take care of yourself. Face your fears. The fear of failing. What is it preventing you from doing? Hashem is so good to us. Trust and faith conquer fear. Everybody have a blessed day. Shabbat shalom.